now, so I'll include this here. Okay, as I start recording the Zoom session, we were already in a little discussion here about the getting a MacBook Air, a MacBook Pro for college. I was just saying that Apple just came out with brand new MacBook Airs and Pros just in the last month or so using the new Apple M1 chip. And so, in other words, for years, Apple, like almost every other computer manufacturer, bought chips from either Intel, who's probably the biggest chip manufacturer in the world, or AMD, or one, there's a couple of big companies that make these. But Apple, starting with the iPhone, the iPad, started making their own chips. And now, for the first time, they're making chips for their regular computers, their desktop and laptop computers. So that was a big gamble when people were reading and hearing about this in recent years that Apple was planning to do this. People thought, oh, no, that's a huge gamble to move away from the industry standard Intel. But make a long story short, the reviews so far are unbelievable for the new Apple chips. They're much faster. The battery life is amazing. Imagine having a laptop where the battery lasts 2, 3 days with no problem, maybe even longer. Really good speed and maybe even a little bit lower cost, which is quite amazing. So, I read normally the MacBook Air would be nice for just simple things, word processing, PowerPoints, surfing the web, typing a paper. So a lot of college students like the Air because it was light and easy to carry. And it was maybe not the best for video editing or audio editing, except for small projects. But, it covered a lot of needs for a lot of people. And it's the lowest cost one. Now with the new M1 chip, it's way better than it was. So if someone really wanted an Air because of the price or because well, I guess the weight isn't that big of a difference nowadays between them either. That's a good choice for a lot of people. If you are the type of person that are thinking like, Mr. Rio, kind of like you, I'd like to do more video, I'd like to do more audio, I want to get into that more, then it's probably worth the extra money to go with something like a MacBook Pro. Because it's going to have a little better processor and some other things in it. So if you are doing those type of things, then I would say if you can afford it, do the MacBook Pro. If you're not doing much of that stuff, just a little small stuff, maybe you're probably just fine with the MacBook Air. And in both cases, they come with 8 gigs of RAM, which is okay. Probably you can start with that. If you're going to get into video and audio and Photoshop and stuff, you probably want to go 16 gig of RAM at least. The hard drives on the cheapest models are usually fairly small. You can either pay extra and get a bigger hard drive or just buy external ones and plug in. So that's a preference. I do both. I paid a little extra to get a bigger hard drive when I bought my last MacBook Pro. And I also buy external hard drives and plug in because I always need lots of hard drive space. And the modern hard drives are technically SSD drives. So they're solid state and they work really good. Okay, so now we'll get into what I was going to talk about for today. Welcome Tyler and Brendan and Peyton and Mallory and Michaela and Persephone and Alexis and Dom and Jaden and Morgan. It looks like that's all who's here today. And first thing I'm going to talk about is I'm at home, by the way, today. So that's why I still don't know why Zoom, even though I use the same login, it has a different link it has me put up when I log in from home than when I log in from school. But I am using different computers too, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I'll be back at school tomorrow if anybody wants to come in. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is we'll take a look at our. Go back. We'll take a look at our what's going on in our class this week. I got some updates with that. Okay, minimize that. You guys only see the window I selected, but I've got like 3 or 4 things open here. Okay, this week here, what's going on? A little update. There's a little update from yesterday. If you were here yesterday, sorry for those of you that I forgot to put the link up for all 3 classes during the 9:31, and I did put that I was not doing one at noon because I had another commitment going on with students at school, but some people missed out. But there was a recording from the 9:31 yesterday posted, and today I'm back to normal doing both of them. So either way, what's going on this week? Kind of a little bit of review. We have pretty much the end of our Excel lessons. We'll probably do a post test next week, but don't panic. It's just going to basically be our pretest, but you'll take it again. This time it'll count, but you can use notes and things, so it's not too hard, and it won't be that big. So that's about it. But this week we're going to wrap up Excel with charting, which I'm going to come back to in just a moment. The 3 videos this week, which I talked a bit about yesterday, you can watch that video if you missed it in the morning session yesterday. Is These are pretty interesting videos, in my opinion. Okay, we got one on Amazon. Okay, it's about a 15-16 minute video about Amazon, and Amazon is huge, and they got a fascinating story. It started in the early days of the web in the 90s when the web was new. People were just getting the web. People were trying to figure out what can we do with this as far as business goes. And a guy named Jeff Bezos got an idea to do an online store. And you might say, you know, who cares? Because thousands of people were coming up with ideas for online stores. And he started simple with mostly books. And his idea was that most bookstores don't have all the books that people might want. So you have a warehouse of books, and he'd start an online bookstore. They sold a few other things beside books, but it started mostly with books at first, and then eventually expanded into more and more products and more areas. And now they're unbelievably massive. In 25 years, they've gone from a guy and a couple of employees and a warehouse and a website to one of the biggest companies in the world. And he's probably the richest man in the world. Depending on Amazon stock price, he's worth somewhere in the area of 150 to 200 billion dollars. And he lost 38 billion this year when he got divorced, and his wife got 38 billion dollars. And her money went way up because she hung on to that stock that she got, and it went up this year because so many people buying stuff online. Plus, Amazon makes money in a lot of other areas too. So that's a fascinating story. There's a little assignment to go with it. It's only 15-16 minutes, so it's not too bad. Facebook dilemma. Dilemma means when you're torn between two things. You're just like, on one hand, you want to do this. On the other hand, should I do that? So the big dilemma on Facebook, they also have a fascinating story. And I saw the movie The Social Network because I just re-up for Netflix. I don't keep multiple services at once. I don't have time to watch them. I usually have one or two at a time. So I ain't been on Netflix in like a year. So I just recently joined again. So I'll probably keep it for a couple months and catch up on a bunch of stuff there. I see they got Social Network on there, which is a fictional movie, but based on the Facebook story. So it's not a documentary, but it's you get some idea how that came about. But make a long story short, now Facebook is so big and so many people on it, and there's so much information on it, and people are sharing so much on it that Facebook now has kind of been in the crosshairs, so to speak, of criticism, because even though there's a lot of good information and great things on Facebook, there's a lot of bad stuff on there too, and a lot of misinformation, and there's extremist groups, there's hate groups, there's people spreading false information and lies. You probably heard the term fake news. And then a lot of people point the finger at Facebook, like, what are you doing about it? Now, on one hand, Facebook is a private company, so they could say, well, we can have our own policies, and people like them or don't like them, whatever, so be it. But they are also at the same time could be regulated by the government. And in both the case of Facebook and the case of our country in general, on one hand, we prize the fact that we have free speech, and we want to encourage free speech and sharing of ideas and different opinions and so forth. At the same time, we probably could all agree, and we may disagree on where the line should be drawn, but there are certainly things that we don't want out there. Um, so that's part of the debate over to what extent should things be allowed or not allowed, whether it be a Facebook policy or even a law or a rule. So that's an interesting documentary. Now, what I put up this week is just part one. This is from a PBS documentary on the Facebook dilemma. It's actually a two-part documentary. So those of you that are a little more, into this kind of stuff, you probably want to watch a second part also, which is not required. But the first part's here with an assignment, so you get some idea what that's about. Then the other video here, this is just a little fun one here. I say fun one, but useful at the same time. It just, there's a lot of these kind of videos out on the web, and I follow a lot of these, and I get a lot of good information from them. This one here is just simply 20 useful websites that everybody should know. and you can look at it. Yeah, probably in reality, all 20 aren't going to apply to you, but you probably find something on there that you'll say, hey, that's pretty cool, or I'd like to try that out. And I like to do this. And this one looked pretty good, and it's a newer one. So I put that up. You have a little assignment about it, just to list the 20, briefly explain them, and share 2 or 3 that you are most interested in from that list. So that's all pretty relevant and pretty interesting and pretty easy. You do one of these a day, and no problem. Okay, Excel. Here's your options on Excel. First of all, for the assignment itself, okay, we have several things here. We have a PDF of the data that goes into a new workbook that we're going to make. We have a tutorial that I made last spring that goes with this assignment, but it doesn't cover all the sheets. It makes reference also to 2 other tutorials here that you would have to use to do some of this. So that's one way to do this. And it's kind of, and you might say, Mr. Real, that's kind of confusing. I got to bounce between a couple of videos. It makes sense. We start with mine, and it will all come in and make sense as to what we need to do. So that's one option to do. Now, what would you do? You'd open up a new Excel workbook. Okay. You can name it charts. We're going to be focusing on charts. To start out, this PDF here, you got 4 sheets here. So you're going to literally make 4 sheets, just like we've done already in other Excels. So you can open one up, start somewhere up here. Okay. And I'd say, do I start in row 1, row 2? It doesn't matter. Just start somewhere in the top left there. And I think you guys are all capable of doing this. Of course, some of these columns are going to need to be wider. Some are going to need to be narrower, and, make it look good. Okay. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You got sheet 1, you just name it like game sales or sales. You got sheet 2. They got some information here about, now this information here, you don't have to put on your sheet. This is talking about like which tutorial to use to do the chart in, because you're going to be making charts from this. Okay. So this one here, you put in a second sheet. You can just name it Amazon maybe. Okay. And this kind of little notes like this, obviously you don't have to put in the sheet. Okay. Then you get to a third one here. And this is a line graph. And you're going to be making from this here. So you can do this here. And then you get to the last one here. You're going to say, Mr. Real, that looks familiar. Didn't we make this already? Well, we basically, yes, we did. Now, there could be slightly different numbers in here than we use. I'm not picky. You can either type this again, which for most of you would probably be the easiest way to do it. If you are a little bit tech savvy, you can go into your original one. All you do is select all the cells that include this information. You can just literally like drag across, do a copy, don't cut. Then come to this sheet, which would be in a different workbook. Click your cursor in like cell A1 or somewhere up in that area, paste it in, and it would come in. Or you can just type it, either one. Okay. So you got a little bit of flexibility there. Okay. And yeah, Abby, you joined late. I'm recording this, so if you missed anything, you can go back. I'll post the recording probably within 20 minutes of when we're done. Okay. And yeah, anyone else who joined late, I joined too late. Okay, yep. Nope, I see you guys join late. I'm just in the middle of showing some stuff here. Okay, either way, this is being recorded, so you can go back and watch the beginning again. So basically, you open up a new workbook and you put this in 4 sheets. Okay, so that's not too hard to figure out. I think most of you know how to do that. Now, when you go to my tutorial, which is the first one you should start with, I spend, 5 minutes or so at the beginning helping you set that up. If you don't need that because you're like, hey, Mr. Rio, I know how to put this stuff in sheets and type it in, you can just kind of skim through there. You don't have to watch every second of it because it's pretty much just setting that up. But it's there for people who need it. Okay. Then there's going to be where it says, now go watch, one of the other tutorials and do, some of the charts because they take you through it. And that's where the data came from for some of those. It came from these other tutorials. So that's one option to do that. And it's really not that hard. And I'm sure those who want to do it in most cases will be fully capable of doing this. Now, having said that, I have to do Zoom sessions for this class on Thursday and Friday. Here's what I'm going to do if you want to do this option, which for some of you may be better, okay? Especially some of you that might struggle a little bit with some of this stuff. Okay, so here's what you do before Thursday. Open up and make a new Excel. Oh, let me also emphasize: use the real Excel. Use the full version of Excel. So if you're on your school Windows computers, click the little square in the bottom left corner. All your applications come up. Scroll down to Excel. Use the full version of Excel. That's going to be better than trying to do the online one. Maybe you can do it in there, but for something like this, you're probably better off in the full version of Excel. And my part of the tutorial I do in a Mac version. I believe these ones that are online you do in a they do it in a Windows version, which are almost identical. There's very, very little difference between them. Now, what I'm going to do, if you want to do that, so what would you do? You just open up a new Excel and put in this information here and do 4 sheets. Save it. You name it charts as far as the files goes. Then on Thursday in the Zoom session, I'm going to do 2 of them. So if you already have this into a worksheet, okay, typed in, you can follow along with me. Now, if you've got 2 things you can watch with, let's say you got a separate computer or an iPad or something like that, you can have the Zoom session on one and you could be on, say, your school computer on another. If you don't have 2 things, you can try to have 2 windows open up on the same computer if need be. Or you can use your phone too for one of them if that, well, I don't know, that might be a little small. But either way, whatever works for you. But here's what I'm going to do. If you want to just do it with me on Thursday and Friday, obviously, have this typed in already. Then what I'm going to do on the Thursday Zoom, I'm going to do the first 2. Okay, so I'll go through step by step, and we'll do the first 2 in a lesson. Okay, so and you can there'll be a recording. So if you miss it live or you need to watch it again or something, it'll be recorded and posted on Thursday. Then on Friday, I'm gonna in the Zoom session, I'm gonna do the other 2. Okay, so I'll do the 2 of them on the first 2 on Thursday, the second 2 on Friday. And again, if you can make either the 9:30 or the noon session, great. And if you can't, there'll be a recording. I may not always post a recording to both of them, especially if I do basically the same thing in both sessions. But I might. But if you only see one recording up there, it means that they're both so similar to each other that it doesn't really require 2 recordings. So that should be 2 good options for you. For those that want to jump ahead and use the ones on here, you have that option to do that. Watch this one first, and then you got these 2 that go with it. You're just learning about how to make different types of charts and graphs in Excel. It's really not that hard. These videos aren't very long. This one's 9 minutes. This one's 9 minutes. Mine is 22, but I spend a big chunk at the beginning just showing you how to set this up in Excel, which I'm sure most of you know how to do. So that's what's going on in our class. Excuse me. So now I'm going to go back to me for a second. Okay, I'm just going to double check the chat, see if there's any questions. By the way, if you got any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask too. This is fairly informal. But hopefully that was pretty self-explanatory. It's not a very hard week. The part that focuses on the web is pretty much all videos with some assignments to go with it. And, do one a day, knock them out, get those out of the way by Thursday. Do one today, one tomorrow, one, Thursday. Then on Thursday, if you have at least the first 2 in your new workbook you make for charts set up, we'll go over those either live or you can watch my recording. And on Friday, I'll do the other 2. So if you don't want to do it with the tutorials built in there, that's fine. I'll do Zoom sessions and do that on Thursday and Friday. So that's, I think, 2 good options for people depending on when they want to do it and what they want to do. Connected to that is about 90% of students now are quite well caught up. And even for the people who are caught up or anyone else, if you got work that you're turning in from the last 2 weeks, you don't have to give me a heads up. There's a good chance I haven't graded all yet anyway. If you got work from more than 2 weeks ago you're turning in, do give me a heads up. Shoot me an email, send me a text, because on my end, I have almost 100 students with my 4 classes. By this point, I've given, who knows, 40 assignments or so each class. So just do the math. 40 times 100, that's like 4,000 slots in my grade book. So am I going to go randomly to a student to some assignment from a month ago to see if they submitted it? That doesn't happen very often. So if you do some makeup and do that, turn it in. Now, some said, is anything more than a month old still accepted? And I've been saying this now for a while. Be in touch with me. Contact me with an email or a text. Explain your situation, whatever it may be. If you were lazy for a month and didn't get much in, be honest. Say, Mr. Rial's lazy. I really want to catch up, and we'll talk about it. And I can be quite accommodating to people who are honest and cooperative and are in touch with me. If you don't say anything to me and you don't seem to care and you ignore all my requests and suggestions, then of course my sympathy is not so great. Now, another option connected to that is coming in. Now, what's the advantage of coming into school? Number one, you got a nice quiet place to work in a beautiful Mac lab with a Christmas tree, and I'm there to help too. Connect to that last part is, not only am I there to help, I have some ideas specifically for students coming in trying to catch up assignments that will help them immensely. And if they come in focused, they can knock out easily 5, 6, 7 assignments in whatever, 3, 4 hours or something. And if you contact the cafeteria, the food service through the website, and I did think put a link up in the stream this week about that, you not only can you get an arrangement for a lunch, maybe even a breakfast. But Wednesday is food pickup day. And if for those that haven't heard, it's free food for everybody. It's not just low income, it's for everybody. But you do have to order it. And they do have pickup over by the cafeteria in the middle of the day. Now, if you were there longer than that, you can pick up your food and we could probably figure out somewhere for it to go until you're ready to leave. But they do have food pickup, and that's for the week. So you can get food for the week. So if you're interested in that, by all means, do that. So that is some of the major stuff going on right now. I was going to, because part of this class is we talk about what's going on in tech news. By the way, if you got questions about anything, like I said, either put them in the chat and I'll check in there here and there, or you can just simply unmute and ask. But right now, I'm going to go to. I'd have to probably share it with you guys. I'm going to try something here to see if it changes in my share thing. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah, I guess, no, the share? No, it didn't. Okay, I got to reshare something. Okay, just take me a second here. Okay, tech news. And this is CNET, which is one of the best websites for tech news or getting information about all kind of things that could be useful, reviews, stories, and so forth, and about all kind of tech. They got the Apple story right here. Apple starts pre-orders on their $549 AirPod Max. Even among people I know, being an older person and knowing some people with some means of money, I don't know many people that are probably going to buy these. So I'm not sure about that. This here goes right with exactly what is in our video this week. Facebook chased lie after lie after lie in 2020. So it says the pandemic, U.S. elections, and outrage over racial injustice created a perfect storm for social media misinformation. And you might say, where does misinformation come from? It comes from all over the place. And even though I'm not going to go into politics, it comes from all over, all different political point of views, different other point of views, different scientific point of views. Now, that's part of that is, Mr. Rio, aren't people allowed to have different point of views and have, different opinions and so forth? Yes, of course. But somewhere, now this would be Facebook. Facebook's a private business. So at some point, Facebook got to decide, where is the line between well-meaning opinions who are debating issues and people who are just spreading lies and misinformation on purpose. That's not an easy decision to make. So that's big in the news. What else is going on? Oh, they got stuff about the Mandalorian, about stimulus spending, about HBO Max, and some criticisms. There's a lot of controversy now in the movie world because this past year is no surprise. Movies aren't coming out in movie theaters, right? Not many. There's been a few, but not many. And a lot of the big movies, especially, have been avoiding the theaters. So a lot of them postponed into next year to come out. But what they're starting to do now, and a few movies have done it already, is just bypass the theaters altogether and go straight to a streaming service. This past summer, Apple paid $70 million to get the Tom Hanks movie Greyhound, a World War II thriller, exclusively on Apple Plus TV. Now, what the creators of Wonder Woman did, the Wonder Woman sequel, Wonder Woman 1984, they originally were just going to do a normal release to theaters this past summer, I believe. And they, for various reasons, didn't do that. Now they came out with a half and half. They're going to release it to whatever theaters are out there that are willing to show it and put it on HBO Max at the same time on the same day on Christmas Day. So that's a little controversial because a lot of traditional filmmakers and that want their movies to be in a movie theater first before they go to other services. And in a normal year, that's probably what would happen. But this is not a normal year, and a lot of movies are considering options like this. And some of the big players have been offering some pretty big amounts of money trying to get some of these movies exclusively to come to their services. So that's going on in the world. Um, let's see. There's a lot of stuff about all different products coming out and different things. And there's car tech, there's TV tech. If you know anybody in the market for a TV now, it's probably never been better. As far as you can get awesome TVs really cheap. I was walking through Best Buy this week. Huge TVs. I remember years ago when a TV like that would cost thousands of dollars, and now you can get them for like $300-$400 for like a 60-inch TV or something. It's just amazing. So yeah, you guys are living in a world where you get a lot of really great tech cheap. And someday you'll tell your grandkids about, this stuff we think is awesome today will be outdated in history, years from now. But just thought I'd touch base a little bit of that. So that's CNET, and you've heard me probably talk about that before. Okay, it's 12:31. I hope everyone's doing okay out there. There will be a recording of this I'll post here in a little bit. Get some more join us. Noah, Jaden, Morgan, others. And like I said, those of you that are here who still got work to make up, be in touch with me. Okay. If you got a little bit of work to make up, not a big deal. Just get it done. Contact me with questions or problems. And when in doubt, do your best on submit it. It's better to have something a little bit imperfect than to have nothing at all. If you're a little overwhelmed, and there might be a few people out there that are, they, for whatever reason, they missed a bunch of assignments. Maybe it's a little harder for them to work at home on their own. If you can come in tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Like I already talked about, you can arrange with food service, stay at lunch. Come stay as long as you like. I'll be there by 7:45 tomorrow, and I'll be there till about 3:30. Got an awesome Mac lab. If you never worked on a Mac, I can show you in a matter of minutes. Or you can bring your school Windows computer. So if you can do that tomorrow, that'd be awesome. I'll be in again next Monday at 8 all day, and then a week from tomorrow, Wednesday again. So I usually come Monday, Wednesday. Sometime I come Thursday, so you can check to see if I'm coming Thursday if you want to come Thursday. I can help you. I can make some accommodations for you. We can knock out 5, 6, 7, 8 assignments in no time if you come in. So I strongly recommend if you do that. If you can't do that for some reason, by all means, work at home, try to knock out 1 or 2 assignments a day until you catch up. Just find a quiet place, focus on it, do your best. Text me for questions. People do that all the time. I posted my number up there in classwork. Email me. Texting works great. I probably hear 90% from students in texting. So that's okay. Okay. And any questions, contact me anytime. You want to hang around here for a minute or two if you got a question. But other than that, we're officially done. I'm going to end the recording, and I hope everybody has a great day.